My name is Liz McCurdy, and I am from, I grew up in Chester, and I live in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. I moved away for a while and lived in Calgary for 8 years, and went to school, is a child and youth care worker. And then I worked out there for a while and traveled for a bit before coming back to Nova Scotia. I knew that my husband and I knew that this is where we wanted to bring up family and live. I have a child, can't think of how old he is. He's 6, soon to be 7. So being a mom, being a partner. I live with my grandmother who's in her 90s, so I do a lot of care for her and support for her. I work full time and I volunteer, and I own my own business, which I used to do as a hobby. Paper Lili handmade designs used to be a hobby of mine, but just kind of started to think maybe I could grow it into something bigger. So that's kind of what I'm doing now. I came back from my grandfather. I really wanted to. He was aging, and I wanted to spend time with him before he passed away. And there's just quality of life in community that you don't get other places. So we were moving back, and then the year we moved back, we traveled for a year. We traveled around the world for a year, and when we were on the other side of the world, I called my mom and to say happy birthday, because it was her birthday. And then she asked for my husband to come. She was like, "Oh, is he there? Can he sit next to you?" And I was like, "Sure," thinking it was kind of weird. And then she told me that my grandfather passed away. So it was really hard for me, because I was, that was a huge reason of why I was moving back why we decided to move back then, because we had this time, but then we didn't have that time anymore. So, and then as we started to kind of get settled in Nova Scotia, we moved in with my grandmother to have 3 generations in one house. Pretty awesome. Aging is pretty awful. You are able to do like my grandmother used to do all of these amazing things in her community. She's done a ton for her community, for her family, for her friends, and now she can't, and it's so difficult, like mobility, and she's still pretty able, but just the things that she can't do. And so days can be long, and she's really lucky, because she gets lots of people who still kind of come in and that she can be social with, and she enjoys that. But the 3 generation thing, when my son comes up to, or multi-generation, when he comes up and sees her, she just like brightens. She's so happy when she sees him and she has the time with him, and he is so happy. Like just tonight they were standing, like he gave her a hug before bed, and they just stood there with their arms around each other and smiling at each other, and just so happy and content. And I don't know, there's a lot of patience that's built in that relationship, and a lot of understanding. Like my son is learning so much about human relationships that he may not learn if he didn't have this experience, and about family, and about how family supports each other and sticks together. I don't know, there's just so much benefit from it that you can't even put words to it. And I don't know, there's this sense of community. When we first moved back to Nova Scotia, there wasn't a lot of young families, and there were a few times when we were kind of like, did we make the wrong decision? Like, is this going to be a whole bunch of seniors, and then soon it's just going to be a few people in our age group? But then the next few years, like more and more young families started moving into Nova Scotia, or moving into the community, into Lunenburg, Bay, and so it started to feel more like a community in our age group. And when you're in, I loved Calgary. It was such a great city. I really like that city. It's probably one of my favorite cities. But you don't like you can't just let your kids go run out in the yards. You can't like letting him run around in the market. Like I'm standing in the market. He wants to go get a croissant, and I'm like, sure, like you can go. I give him money, and he goes off to get it. I know he's going to be safe. He's going to be fine, and he comes back to me, and I just think to do that in a city, like I'd never do that in a market in Calgary. Say, yeah, sure, you're 5, 6 years old. Go to the other side of this massive market with all these people, and come back to me. So there's just so many added things that I think as a child he benefits from here. We have a large family too, so we're pretty close to family. So he gets to see, and living here where we do, he sees his great aunts and uncles way more than he ever would, especially if we still lived in Calgary. Like there's this big drive now in South Shore communities to really strengthen communities and make them fun and make them interesting and making them a draw for young people, and it's the people in the communities who are making that happen. It's not like it's government trying to let's pull in, how are we going to make this an attractive place for people to live. Like it's people living in the communities and how people work together to volunteer, like whether it's at schools or like community events. And I don't know, it's just there's just this thing that you get out of those experiences that you don't get in big cities. And big cities have a lot of other awesome things to offer, for sure. There are lots of things that we don't get because we're in smaller communities, but those aren't really what are important to us right now. I'm always looking for that balance between work and life, and being an entrepreneur, it's really hard. But trying to, I don't know. I think what I find the biggest struggle with sometimes is like family is really important to me, and spending time with my son is really important to me. And when I'm trying to carve out like little bits of time to work on my personal small business, I can forget that. And there's times when I don't spend with him that I could maybe be focusing more time on him. So Paper Lili Handmade Designs is a custom design business. I custom design handmade cards for businesses and individuals who kind of feel like the relationships of clients and people they work with and people they engage with in their business are really important to them. So they might have an occasion where they want a card to give to customers or clients that they have. Maybe they give birthday cards or holiday cards, or maybe they give thank you cards for different things. So, and for example, there's a business I work with locally, and I created some sympathy cards for them to give with jewelry they create that's kind of made in memory of someone who's passed away. So she'll give a sympathy card with the jewelry. Just kind of that added little touch that kind of helps make your business yours matter. So I help businesses kind of create that kind of relationship and connection with their customers through making hand designed cards. So it's pretty fun. So it's kind of like the main part of it. But I also do parties where, again, like bringing people together and building relationships and having fun, kind of like paint night kind of thing. So people will come and make 8 cards and have lots of fun and walk away with these cards they've used. And they're cards that they can use them and then come back for another fun night of making cards. So that's a good time. I am pretty happy. I've been feeling lately like this is the life that I want and that I choose. It's not perfect. It's not always easy. I'm not raking in the millions, but it's happy and it's good to